All right, round two. In this one, we're going to place all the rest of the assets. So we're going to put the logo from the San Diego Zoo in here. We're going to apply our copy and then also our images of pandas, as well as doing a generative text to image prompt. So let's go ahead and get started here. So just like we placed the San Diego color scheme and the zoo map, now we're just going to place other assets within here. So I'm going to go ahead and go File, and then go back to Place. And then I'm going to search for specific things. So I've got the San Diego Zoo logo. This is an EPS file, which is just a file format from Illustrator. And it ensures that when it gets printed, it's a file format that printers will recognize, and there won't be any like glitches or weird things happening. So I'm going to select this. I'll hit Open. And you can see San Diego Zoo pops into that little preloaded image there. And I'm going to click and drag out that logo. So hey, look at that. San Diego Zoo. One thing I'm going to do is just modify it a little bit. So I'll go to my direct select tool. I'll click on the image. And then I'm going to hold Shift and Alt to scale it towards the center. I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller. You can eyeball it, but I'm basically just wanting to make it so it's not touching my margins on the outside there. So that looks good. Awesome. Kind of looks fun against the blue there. We may change that. I think I'm going to. Let's move into the next thing. So you'll see within your toolbar, you've also got these rectangle frame tools. And these ones are kind of cool in that you can create some placeholders to put new images. So if I click and drag out, I've now got a frame right there, and I'm going to click and drag out another one down here, and I'll have another frame right there. These ones look like they're disappearing. If I take overprint preview off, you can see that they have little X's in there. That's again to kind of like help you just know like, oh, like I'm designing stuff here. This is a good target for an image, and I'm expecting to put an image there, but right now I'm just like kind of constructing, I'm laying out the framework for like where I want things to go. So let's go ahead and place something in there. Also notice how the EPS looks like trash right now. Going out of overprint preview just helps you to work faster by working lower resolution. So I'm going to go File, Place, and in this case I'm going to select Panda, and I'm going to hold Shift and click and select Panda 2. And this is a kind of neat thing. In InDesign you could load like 50 photos into your selection, and then you can place them all into pre-designed frames that you've already put in there. So I'll show you this right now. So I'm going to hit Open, and I've got two images in there. You'll notice on the actual cursor there's a little icon of an image, and then there's a 2. And it preloads the first image, this panda chewing a stick. So I'm going to click on him here. You'll see it floods into that frame that I have, and then I'll click onto this one. So two images, they both went to their target locations, but we got a problem. They're way too big. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on the first one right here, and then in my options bar up top, I've got these two buttons that we can click on. We've got Fit Frame Proportionally, and then we've got Fit Content Proportionally. So I'm going to go ahead and fit content proportionally and see what that does. That's not really what I want to do. I want to crop this photo. But I want to just see more of the panda's face. So I'm going to fit frame proportionally, and that looks like a bit better of a solution. One more thing I'll do to that, but let's move on to the next image. So I'm going to go to this one and do the same thing. That looks pretty good. Don't think I'm going to have to change this one. Going back to our original panda, I'm going to zoom in on this one. Looks like he or she is kind of peeking a little bit too close to the top of the composition. So I want the panda to be like more in the frame, and so I'm going to work the composition down. So I can just click and drag that image. I'm holding Shift while I do that, and that just like makes sure it stays like perfectly straight up and down. You can also use your keyboard and do like little nudges until you get a nice layout of composition. So I'm just going to play with placement and try to get that head relatively in the center of the composition. And I think that looks good. All right, this guy's looking good too. I like it. And then something I'm also going to play with is I'm going to do a generative fill image on the bottom here. So I'm going to take a frame and click and drag it out here. make it fill in there. And then you're going to see this little text to image beta thing pops up. If we click on that, very much like the generative fill in Photoshop or the text to vector in Illustrator, in InDesign we can use this to either have illustrations or photographs come in to this current frame right here. So I'm going to type in bamboo, like green bamboo growing outside. I want to kind of have like a textural establishing kind of like image, so I feel like we're in the forest. Give me 1 second. This is Mr. F. I don't believe so. Awesome, no worries. All right, bye. Okay, and we're back. So if I look at the options here, not really that impressed with that one. This one kind of gets a little bit more interesting. But you can notice I've got it set to the content type is a photo, the square is 1 by 1. And I can also just hit generate again and just see if I can get a different alternative there. The third option there really isn't too bad. I think that could potentially work. 3, 2, 1, blast off. This kind of feels a little bit like a spa. So I'm just going to settle for this one. I think that's going to work. All right, so moving on. Last thing I'm starting to do is I'm seeing some rhythms like start to show up here. So like I've got this solid color, I've got this one, and then I've got this one here. There's almost this line that's showing up across the way. So I'm going to grab the color on this first block here, and I'm just going to pull it down so that the San Diego Zoo has a different contrast behind it. Kind of helps to isolate the logo, not make it feel like it's just getting sucked into this next phase here. I might also consider changing the gray in this background color just slightly, just to have a little bit more contrast. So I'm going to double click on it. I'm going to go to hue, maybe I'm going to go to hue, and then I'm just going to drop it down just so it's like a little bit more gray. So there's a tad bit more contrast that's showing up between the pure white to the left and the gray that's right there. Just so you guys can see that, I'll go to overprint preview and I'll take my guides off. All right, guides back on, overprint preview removed. Now let's go ahead and place our text in there. So with our text, we're going to use our type tool and we can click it and drag out a text box. But first, let's go ahead and get our type. This you're going to find on the Google Classroom. So let me open up my Classroom. I'm going to get to it real quick here. All right. Just going to use my morning class, so period 1 for reference. Here it is. You can see there's this San Diego Zoo press copy, and so I'm going to click on that to open it up, and all of this type is ready to go. I can scroll to the bottom, click, and drag towards the top. It's kind of a nice way to get everything. You could also just click in there and go Control A. That'll select everything as well. Control C to copy, or let's see, edit, copy right there. Minimize that. So now I've got copy, so text, loaded into the clipboard. I'll take my type tool and I'm going to click and drag out a text box just to fill this entire area right here. You can see the little I bar is blinking right there. And then I'll go Control V or paste, and it throws all that type right into the text box. Now what's kind of cool about the text boxes is that they tell you, they're kind of smart, they indicate like if you have more text that needs to be shared. So if I zoom in towards the bottom here, you can see this little like red square that's popping up here with a plus sign in it. And basically the red plus sign is like, hey buddy, you've got more type that's hidden. You should probably create another text box that is linked to this one. So it's kind of a cool process within InDesign. You can link your text boxes and just have them kind of like flow from one place to another. So This will go from column to column. It can go from page to page, however you want. It's really up to you. So it's simple as clicking the little red plus box. You'll see it preloads the text into the cursor again. I'm going to click and drag out another text box. You can see I've got even more text. I'll click the plus sign again. I'm going to click and drag out another text box. And you can see there's still another plus sign. I'm going to click and drag out another text box. And I think the last one there is just showing that there's a space or there's a return. There's kind of like an empty symbol that's being indicated that that text box was saying, hey, there's still a little bit something more. So that's where we're going to stop. One modification I might make here is I think this might look nice to have a little bit of warmth in it. So I'm going to change this color, and I know I'm going off. And I'm just going to go to kind of like an orangish color, just so I can have a little bit of cool and warm playing together within my composition of this poster. All right, we're going to stop this demo here, and then the last thing that we're going to do is just fine-tune some of our typography.